Yeah, 7 minutes is it's progress.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been fine. I've been home for a week now, a week and some change, and it's pretty cold outside. Not cold, but just a little breezy. But I was used to that Korean summer, so got to get acclimated again. So but it's been all right. Can't complain.
No, it's good. It's good. Got to see a lot of your friends during this time.
So far, yeah, I've been hanging out with my closest friend, Chris. He moved into his new apartment with his girlfriend. They've been together for a little over a year, so they decided to take things to the next stage, and he asked for help. So I was like, yeah, just wait till I come home and we'll move in together. Took the U-Haul, grabbed all his furniture and stuff. Took about like a 2-day process, and pretty happy for him because he's in a good spot now in his life, and it's the first time he's like, out there with his alone without parents or anything like that. So it's a good new journey for him.
Sweet. That I like hearing stories like that because the whole thing of the traditional marriage of you have to get married before you really get into a deep relationship or move in with each other.
Yeah.
That sometimes works, but in most situations nowadays, as busy as we are, I think it's better to get
Mhm.
to really know each other in the living environment before even deciding to commit to that level. But Carmen and I, we lived for a year before we decided to get married. We were engaged for about a
Mhm.
year and a half. So
Yeah, I think that's important. You kind of have to like know what it's like being with that person 24/7 before you rush into a decision of marriage, because that's again, it's gonna be the person you end up being with the rest of your life. So if you don't know how you guys function together on an everyday basis, it's a kind of a big jump to just automatically just do that right off the bat from marriage.
yeah, very true. I mean, there's there's people with really bad habits that when you see them outside of their home, they seem like the most cordial and very pleasant to be around type of people. But when you see them in their living space, you're like, who is this person?
Yeah.
uh, the toilet seat is like number one on I think everyone's list. Sometimes we don't realize how many bad habits we have, like leaving the toilet seat up, both male and female.
Uh,
As much
I
as
think.
part of the seat being covered, it's necessary
Uh-huh.
to keep it covered because it also protects our teeth. As crazy as that sounds, because
Oh.
all the
Uh,
bacteria that comes out of the toilet, it stays
mhm.
floating around as it's just lingering, and it finds its way on brushes, toothpaste, toothbrushes, all the surfaces.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one.
Korea, dude, like I've never been to Korea, so anything you say about Korea seems very interesting to me.
Um, well, I guess I'll just start from the beginning and just work on my year experience with it. It's a long flight. I will say that I flew from Pennsylvania to Washington, and then I had to stay there overnight. And I flew out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I think it was like a two day trip, considering the time zones, because I went through like 3 different time zones. It's talk about jet lag. The first week in Korea, I just was like all over the place with my sleeping schedule because I legitimately went through like three to four different time zones and everything. But the plane was long. I remember sleeping for most of it. We arrived over at a base. Well, we stopped in Japan first. First, we stopped in Japan because it was a two-part trip. They dropped off soldiers, um, that were in the military, such as Navy or Marines, because it wasn't just Army; it was all of us together. And they dropped off like the Marines and the Navy people that are stationed in Japan. They dropped them off there first, and then after there, they took us to Korea. And I remember we arrived there around like 7 o'clock at night, and we arrived at an air base. They took us in. We did like our orientation. We filled out a lot of paperwork, and then we took a bus ride to the major hub for the Army, which is called Camp Humphreys. That's usually where in processing, where if you get stationed in Korea, you have to go to that base and you do all your medical records and everything there for the first like week and a half before you go to wherever you're assigned to go to. So by the time we got over there, and by the time we got issued our rooms, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock. I was already tired. I had like 3 to 4 bags, about 70 pounds each, just with all my clothes and my gear. And I was just, it was the second time I was dealing with in processing, because obviously I dealt with it first in Louisiana, but it was like a very easy process, fresh out of basic training. Now this is my second station I'm heading to, which is overseas and everything. And it started out interesting because in Louisiana, when I was there, it was just by myself in a room. I get to Korea and they throw me in a room with three other guys. Like, and the room is super small. I have like twin bunk beds. It was like kind of like a prison style area. It wasn't like the greatest thing ever as a warm welcoming, and I'm with three other dudes. I'm like, oh, okay, it's gonna be like that for a while. All right, just gotta suck it up. But they ended up being cool. I ended up befriending them, befriending. Sorry, I had tongue twister right there. Befriending two of them. The other guy kind of just like kept to himself. He didn't really want to talk to us or whatever. He just wanted to do his thing. But I ended up befriending two of them, and it was like three of us. Uh, Both of them were like signals, which just in short term, they just like work with communications, stuff like that in the Army. And so we were just getting to know each other. We went through the in process stage together, and then actually when we got there, it was during a Korean holiday, which they called Chuseok, which is basically Korean Thanksgiving. It's their version of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And so one of the first things I had to learn about this country was that not only do we get off for federal holidays in America, but we also get off for Korean holidays too. So I was like, oh, I can get used to that. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, I got there and I was off for like 4 to 5 days right off the bat. Like, I didn't like work or anything for the first 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
So I hit up a friend, and because he was already stationed in Korea for about 6 months, and he was actually in Louisiana with me working before he moved over there. So when he found out I was heading over there, he was like, "Oh man, you got to hit me up. I'll show you around and everything." So I was like, "All right, awesome." So we set up it was like, hey, it's a perfect time. They gave us off for 4 to 5 days. Like, what do you want to do? You know, they're all right, I'll show you Seoul. And so Seoul is the major capital of Korea. It is the hub of Korea. It is where all international students go to college. It is where all international folks, even Americans, go to make a life over there, to open up a bar or a restaurant or a business. It is the trading hub of America, of South Korea, and we're talking about not just Americans go, which that's the surprising part, that this is stuff that I learned within time of learning about Korea and everything, because I had no knowledge. This decision to go to Korea was 100% spontaneous. I woke up one day, I didn't want to be in Louisiana anymore. I knew I was going up for a change of pace of environment, and I could either wait for them to tell me where to go, or I can go to my HRC, which is human resources basically, and I can go see if there's anything available and automatically pick that. And now the choices they had, like Kentucky, Tennessee, I think one of them was Washington State, and then the last one was Korea. So I called my mom. I asked her, I said, hey, would you be okay if I like went overseas? I'm not gonna be deployed. I'm just gonna be stationed over there, but I just want to get out of America. I want to try something new, a new environment and everything. She was okay with it, so sent an email. Literally 72 hours later, they said, yeah, you got approved. And I had no knowledge. I was like, all right, we're gonna start a new life in Korea and see what it's like. But there's a lot of Americans in Korea. I will say that there is a lot of Americans in Korea, and not just military. What it is there's a lot of people who go to Korea for about a year or two as English teachers. They teach English. Now, mind you, you don't even need a teaching degree to go teach English. You just need to go through their certification program, pass the exams and everything. You don't even need to know Korean. Like, you don't even know, like, you don't need to be fluent in Korean. Like, if you are fluent in English, that's what they want. They want you to be fluent in English. And they hire the generation is usually the young generation, like 19 to like 23, I would say. I mean, obviously there's older professors and teachers too, but it attracts the younger generation because it's a good way to apparently, I guess, save up money. They pay good for the gig, and it's only about a year or two. So that was like something new to experience, because when I went to Seoul, I the first night out, we went out bar hopping and just exploring and everything. And there was a lot of like Americans I saw, and I was like, oh, these are all like soldiers probably or whatever. And my friend's like, no, these are, I bet you they're teachers. We just started asking people, and like, yeah, I teach English here. Yeah, I teach English here too. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I've seen probably almost every ethnicity you can probably imagine just in Korea. I've talked to British people, I've talked to French people, I've talked to any European, I've talked to people from Sweden. I've met someone from Iceland. I even met someone from South Africa. And a lot of South Africans head over there too. It's phenomenal the amount of culture and diversity that I was exposed to within a year of time and everything. Um,
Well,
so,
um,
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
that's a good analogy of, well, a good observation of what you experienced, because for quite some time, I'd say like around 95 was when doors really started opening to have more and more uh, teachers to come abroad of all ages.
Yeah.
What it started off with a lot was within the nursing community. I remember my mother-in-law, she was actually thinking about going to Hawaii. This is like way before I was even together with my wife. At that time, they were offering about $35,000 a year. Doesn't sound like much now, but here's the catch: you don't have to pay for living expenses. They would
Mm-hmm.
give you about $1,000 a week for your living expenses, whether it's for, doesn't matter what type of bill it was. That was the agreement. $1,000 a week, and you have $35,000, $30,000 to $35,000, depending on how much experience you have. A year end,
Okay.
it really did make a difference in spaces like that, because what happens is they don't realize how quick the English language keeps coming into different spaces that they need to be able to communicate in order to expand their business. That's one side. The other side is they also want the people that have experience firsthand, being outside of the country. So then that case, whoever they're actually trying to bring abroad to expand themselves into other countries, they want someone who traditionally does speak the language firsthand. I'm glad that you saw that. I don't know if maybe 5 or 6 years ago you and I would be having this conversation, but I find it's cool that you see this firsthand, because this is something that's been in the works since the '70s to try to get this to happen, to have a cross
Yeah,
culture.
yeah. I I don't think people truly realize that English is the number one language, not just in America. It's the number one language worldwide.
Right.
It's used, it's taught in other countries thoroughly. It's drilled into these newer generations. They're forcing them to learn English now and making it that they are fluent in English because a lot of the world's international trading jobs and just bouncing around with the companies and all that require you to speak English because most of the big heads are from America. So and if they're corporates from China or Japan or whatever, they're going to travel to America at some point, or travel to England at some point, or travel to Europe at some point. And any English is just everywhere. English is going to be forever everywhere till the day we all dissipate.